Are all the world's religions man-made, false or true? We'll give you lot of reasons that apply to religion. My video is based solely on questions that should be answered by both you and me. Its purpose is not to disrespect any religion. Why would a world God be offended by asking questions when the answers could benefit his creation, thus increasing his followers as well? Have the religious leaders of the world ever answered these questions for you? If they have, instead of proving their point with common sense and logic, they threaten or scold those asking questions, saying, beware, if you question God, you will be labeled a kafir and deserving of death. Or they present the same old nonsensical ideas from their ancestors' books, turning them into logic. Or they claim that in books like the Quran, Bible, Bhagavad Gita, Vedas, etc., it's written that God revealed these books, so that's their logic. No one mentions that the prophets who claim these books are God's words didn't provide a single eyewitness to prove that God, his angels appeared to them to give these books, even though there were thousands of more knowledgeable, trustworthy and educated people in the world. In other words, Prophet Muhammad, who claimed the Quran was revealed to him, was himself unlettered and ignorant, yet God chose him over the educated people to be his prophet, without offering any witnesses for his claim. Instead, he simply said, if you don't follow my word, Allah will be angry and send you to hell. In this way, the followers of every religion made names, fame and money, because in earlier times the more ignorance there was, the more successful these people were in their businesses. No religion can claim that the majority of these reasons do not apply to it, because if a majority applies, it applies to all. However, there might be some exceptions in the thinking of religious people, but in my opinion, these reasons apply everywhere and to all religions. Let's start with the first reason. All the religions in the world today, whether Islam, Christianity, Hinduism, Judaism, Sikhism, or any other religion, are not older than a few thousand years. It can be claimed that a certain religion is millions of years old, but this is pure lies. Humans have been on Earth for around 300,000 years, and the history of those 300,000 years shows that human mental and linguistic capabilities were not advanced enough to create religions. 300,000 years ago, humans looked like you and me, but their minds were not capable of creating religions, so all religions were formed as human intellect and awareness developed. As humans evolved, their brains developed, and they started creating organized systems. All the religions found in the world today were formed after the agricultural revolution. If we look at the Jewish or Islamic religion, we know that there are many religions like the Mesopotamian religion, which claim that humans were taught farming by gods. Similarly, many other religions also mention that fire was taught to humans by gods, but what we know is that all these religions are not very old. I am not saying that when humans created these religions, they had no intellect. Humans were capable of spiritual feelings and creating religions around 5,000 years ago. However, the religions they created have mostly become extinct, and the religions we see today are not the ones that were created at the beginning. It's also important to note that the religions present in the world today may not exist a few thousand years from now, just like many religions that existed a few thousand years ago have become extinct. Religions are created by humans in specific settings and situations, and they remain alive for a certain period before they die out, just like humans do. For example, the ancient Hellenistic religion is now extinct, as is the Mesopotamian religion, from which many concepts have been borrowed by today's religions. This is the first major reason. We know that religions are much younger than humanity, and the religions we see today are only a few thousand years old and will also become extinct in the future. Let's move to the second reason. The second reason is that all the gods, deities, avatars, prophets and messengers that appeared came during a time when humans did not have critical thinking. We cannot test if Moses really parted the Red Sea, did the moon really split in half, or did Jesus truly rise from the dead, or was he born from a virgin? Was it really true that Ram performed great deeds? Did the Guru fight even after his neck was cut off? Was Nirvana truly achieved through yoga, or did it happen some other way? These were events from ancient times, and back then people believed in in superstitions or falsehoods without the ability to analyze them. Such things used to happen, but after that they didn't. Today many people claim to be God or prophets, but nobody takes them seriously when we analyze such people and take them to the hospital for a psychological assessment. They turn out to be mentally ill. Sometimes there are other charlatans who collect money from people pretending to have supernatural powers. I'm not saying that no prophets or divine figures come today, they still do, but those claiming such things eventually get exposed. If we take the old figures who claim to be prophets or gods thousands of years ago and bring them into today's world, you'd believe that we'd feel pity for their mental state and admit them into a mental hospital. So today no true prophets appear. Those who claim to be prophets aren't taken seriously. No avatars of God come today, and no one takes those claims seriously. They end up being placed in mental hospitals. The second reason is that today no prophets come, but if they do, no one takes them seriously. So you can say that true prophets existed in the past, but they no longer appear in today's world. Keep in mind that even in ancient times, true prophets weren't widely recognized, but their truth was never acknowledged, and nobody knew about it. Now let's move on to the third reason. Every religion claims miracles. In each religion there's a story. Hanuman lifting mountains, Jesus rising to the sky, Moses talking to God while Mount Sinai burns, and Prophet Muhammad splitting the moon. But all these miracle claims from religious texts can't be proven today. People claim to perform miracles, but they never present any scientific proof. For example, there are many Christians who claim to heal the sick, or pastors who say they can cure cancer, but none of them are willing to prove it scientifically. Similarly, Muslims claim that certain saints can perform surgeries or bypass operations with just a touch, but again they never allow scientific testing. The reason they don't is that they know they're fooling people. If there were prophets performing miracles today, modern people would quickly expose them and prove them fraudulent. No miracle from the past has ever been proven scientifically, and today's so-called miracles can't be proven either. Those who claim miracles today avoid verification and inquiry. For example, many churches claim to have Jesus's blood or Hussein's blood, but no one allows it to be tested. Likewise, there are relics of Prophet Muhammad's hair, but no one allows them to be tested. None of these miracles can be scientifically tested. The third reason is that all religious books, no matter the religion, contain significant scientific and historical errors. Whether it's the Quran, the Torah, the Bible, the Vedas, or any religious scripture, all of them have scientific and historical mistakes. These mistakes show us that these books can't be divine, because if God existed and knew everything, he wouldn't make such errors. No religious book is free from these errors, and no one can claim their book is perfect. The fact that all religious books have such errors means that they can't be considered divine or true. Now let's move to the fifth reason. Every religion is a local phenomenon that was created within specific regions and languages. Each religion was introduced to a specific community and in their own language, and the creator of the universe communicated in that local dialect. It's fine. And then later they get stuck in translation. People often fail to understand what is meant because they don't grasp the point. The issue to remember is that all religions are local phenomena. There isn't a single religion that is international. There isn't even one true religion of God. If we look at Hinduism, the gods and goddesses mentioned in the Vedas and Puranas were only true for Hindustan. Did they make any arrangements for Americans or Europeans to understand the message? When humans progressed, they translated the Vedas to help others understand. Similarly, the Quran was revealed in Arabic. Was there an attempt to make the Chinese understand it? No, they didn't. Even now they wouldn't understand. The message was always in local languages, with local phenomena and rituals included in the religion. Therefore, we understand that all these religions were created by clever local people. Some did this 1,400 years ago, some 2,000 years ago, some 2,600 years ago, and some even 3,500 years ago. Someone thought, I'll trick my people, and later that community became successful. Then they started teaching their religion to other communities in their own language. In Punjab, how would anyone know what the Bible is in Latin or what it means in Arabic? How would they know what Sanskrit is? This is all a fraud. These are local phenomena. A true God would be the creator of the entire universe, not just this earth. It would have been easy for him to deliver his message in every language of the world, but this didn't happen, which proves that these religions are false. None of the religions practiced today, or that have ever existed, is true. They are all made by humans like you and me. The fifth reason was that all religions combined reflect scientific temper and inquiry. These religions don't want people to engage in scientific inquiry or reasoning. Every religion's leaders are often against science, whether they are Christian priests, Muslim clerics, Hindu pandits, or Sikh leaders. These religious leaders are entirely against scientific temper because they know that if people embrace science, they won't fall for the religious deception. That's why every religion is against scientific thinking. They don't want their followers to understand science and believe in a scientific understanding of the universe. They want people to continue believing in the dogmatic understanding written in their sacred texts or taught by their scholars. This was reason number 6. The seventh reason, and the most important, is that every religion goes against human rights. One religion elevates one person above another, calls some untouchable, others infidels or worthy of death, or accuses them of blasphemy. Every religion allows for slavery, sexual exploitation, and violence. Some religions kill people based on caste, others based on class, and some even for calling others infidels or heretics. In every religion, the value of human life is essentially zero for those who follow the religion, and even less for those who don't. Women are not considered equal to men in almost all religions. So, if women are not considered equal, how can human beings be treated as equals? Human rights cannot be valued when religion is involved, because religion always positions itself as superior. It uses the excuse that God said this or God didn't say that, and religions don't evolve with time. What people believed 2,000, 1,400 or 1,000 years ago about how the world should work, punishing people, killing them, considering women inferior, is still the foundation of today's religious rules. But today we live in an age of human rights, dignity and equality. Religious teachings from the past, filled with extreme, outdated and barbaric laws, don't align with this modern world. This is why religion is entirely false. I've shared 7 reasons why religions are false. Perhaps there are more reasons you believe in which lead you to think that all religions are false. It is a deeply nuanced and controversial topic to analyze the origins, validity, and purpose of religion. To provide an objective and logical perspective, let's examine the characteristics of religion through the lens of critical thinking, historical evidence, and philosophical reasoning. This analysis seeks to question the authenticity of religious doctrines, the possibility of divine revelation, and the socio-political dynamics that might have contributed to the formation and perpetuation of religions. The characteristics of religion. Religions typically involve sacred texts or oral traditions, supposedly divinely inspired guidelines for living. Belief in supernatural entities, gods, spirits, or forces that transcend natural laws, moral and ethical codes, rules for personal and societal behavior, rituals and practices, acts of worship or observance tied to the religion's doctrines, promise of afterlife or cosmic justice, rewards or punishments after death or in a future existence. While these elements are deeply ingrained in human cultures, their authenticity can be examined through historical and logical scrutiny. 1. Religions emerge in a historical context. The majority of religions have their roots in specific historical periods, often reflecting the cultural, social, and technological limitations of their time. For instance, ancient texts such as the Bible, Quran, or Vedas reflect knowledge, ethics, and societal norms that were prevalent when they were written. Many religious practices correspond to early human attempts to explain natural phenomena, e.g., storms, eclipses, disease, before the advent of scientific understanding. If religions were truly universal and divine, why do their doctrines and teachings often align with the limitations and misconceptions of the eras in which they originated? A truly divine message would transcend human understanding and provide timeless universal truths, yet most religious teachings reflect historical and cultural biases. 2. Contradictions between and within religions. If religions were divinely inspired, one would expect consistency across them. However, Different religions offer conflicting accounts of creation, morality, and the afterlife. Within individual religions, sacred texts often contain contradictions. For example, the Bible presents multiple creation stories, Genesis 1 and 2, with differing timelines. In Islam, verses in the Quran are abrogated or superseded by later revelations, leading to inconsistencies. Such contradictions suggest that these texts are human constructs, subject to error, interpretation and revision, rather than infallible. Divine revelations. 3. The problem of divine hiddenness. If a deity truly desired humanity to believe and follow divine commandments, why is there no clear, unequivocal evidence of its existence? Philosophers call this the problem of divine hiddenness. Instead of direct communication or undeniable signs, most religions rely on faith, belief without evidence, alleged miracles, often anecdotal, unverifiable or explainable, through natural phenomena, prophets and intermediaries, human figures who claim to speak on behalf of the divine but whose messages are often subjective and culturally influenced. A God that requires faith over evidence seems indistinguishable from a God that does not exist. 4. Religions are man-made power structures. Historically, religions have often served as tools for political and social control. In ancient civilizations, rulers were often deified or claimed divine right to legitimize their power. Religious hierarchies, e.g. the clergy, priesthood, have frequently amassed wealth and influence, sometimes at the expense of their followers. Many religious doctrines reinforce societal inequalities, such as patriarchy, caste systems, or slavery. These patterns suggest that religion is a human invention designed to consolidate power, enforce order, and exploit human fear and hope. 5. The evolutionary basis of religious belief. From an evolutionary perspective, religious belief likely arose as a byproduct of cognitive mechanisms that helped early humans survive. For example, pattern recognition. The human brain evolved to detect patterns and infer causality, leading to beliefs in supernatural agents. Social cohesion. Shared religious beliefs fostered group unity and cooperation, giving religious groups a survival advantage. Fear of death. Religion provides comfort by offering explanations and assurances about death and the unknown. These psychological and social factors explain the prevalence of religious beliefs without invoking divine intervention. 6. The absence of empirical evidence. Despite centuries of religious claims about miracles, divine intervention, and the supernatural, there is no empirical evidence to support these phenomena. Scientific methods have consistently failed to validate the efficacy of prayer beyond the placebo effect. Miracles that defy natural laws. The existence of souls, spirits, or afterlife realms. Faith often demands belief in the absence of evidence, but such belief is indistinguishable from delusion or wishful thinking. 7. The universality of myth-making. Religious stories often resemble myths and legends from other cultures, suggesting a shared human tendency to create narratives. For example, flood myths exist in many cultures, including the biblical Noah story and the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh. Virgin birth and resurrection narratives are found in Christianity, Hinduism, Krishna, and ancient Egyptian mythology, Horus. This universality indicates that religious stories are not unique divine truths but rather products of human imagination, shaped by cultural exchange. 8. The adaptability of religion. Religions often evolve to align with changing societal values and scientific advancements. For example, the Catholic Church revised its stance on heliocentrism centuries after condemning Galileo. Many modern religious groups accept evolutionary theory despite initial opposition. This adaptability suggests that religions are human institutions responding to external pressures rather than immutable truths revealed by a deity. 9. Moral codes are not unique to religion. Religions often claim to be the source of morality, but moral behavior is not exclusive to religious individuals or societies. Secular ethics, grounded in reason and empathy, provide robust moral frameworks. Atheistic societies, e.g. Scandinavia, often exhibit high levels of social welfare and low crime rates. Altruism and fairness have been observed in non-human animals, indicating that morality predates religion. This undermines the argument that religion is necessary for moral behavior. 10. Religions exploit human fears and desires. Religions often capitalize on existential fears, e.g., death, suffering, and desires, e.g., purpose, belonging, promises of heaven or enlightenment, offer hope in the face of mortality, threats of hell, or karma. Discourage dissent and enforce conformity. These psychological manipulations are effective but do not constitute evidence of divine truth. 11. The scientific method as a superior alternative. Unlike religion, science relies on evidence, experimentation, and falsifiability, while religions claim absolute truth. Science acknowledges uncertainty and evolves with new discoveries. This approach has led to advancements in understanding the universe, from the Big Bang to quantum mechanics, solutions to practical problems such as diseases and technological challenges. The success of the scientific method contrasts with religion's reliance on unchanging doctrines and unverifiable claims. Conclusion: a logical assessment based on historical evidence, logical reasoning, and the absence of empirical support. It is reasonable to conclude that religions are human constructs rather than divinely inspired systems. They likely originated as attempts to explain the unknown, foster social cohesion, and address existential fears. Over time, they have evolved into powerful institutions, often more concerned with maintaining authority than seeking truth. This conclusion does not negate the cultural, psychological, or philosophical value that some individuals find in religion. However, from a purely logical and evidentiary standpoint, religions appear to be products of human imagination, rather than reflections of divine reality. Here's a collection of 50 challenging questions often raised by atheists toward religions, typically centered on inconsistencies, ethical dilemmas, and the lack of evidence. These questions remain subjects of debate, and religious scholars often escape answering them. They are helpless to prove or justify, but all they rely it is matter of faith, and it is God and divinity. That's all they have to answer us. Existence of God and supernatural claims. Why is there no empirical evidence for the existence of God or gods despite millennia of religious claims? If God is all-powerful, why does divine intervention never happen in a measurable or scientifically verifiable way? Why do natural disasters occur? If God is omnibenevolent and controls everything, why are miracles claimed only in ways that can't be scientifically proven or replicated? Why does God remain hidden and demand faith instead of providing clear evidence of existence? If God is eternal and uncreated, why can't the universe itself be eternal and uncreated? Why do different religions describe gods with contradictory attributes? How can God be perfect yet create an imperfect world? If God is unchanging, why do divine laws and expectations evolve over time? Why would an all-knowing God create beings he knows will ultimately reject him and suffer eternally? Moral dilemmas. In religious teachings, why do sacred texts often endorse slavery, sexism, and violence if they are divinely inspired? Why is eternal punishment, e.g. hell, justified for finite crimes or disbelief? How can morality come from God when atheists and non-religious people live moral lives? Why would a loving God allow or command genocide as described in various religious scriptures? Why does God allow innocent children to suffer or die? How can God be considered just if salvation is often based on faith rather than actions? Why are many divine commandments culturally specific and irrelevant today? Why would God forbid basic human pleasures or actions that harm no one, e.g. consensual relationships? If God values free will, why punish people for exercising it? How can divine morality be objective when interpretations vary so widely? Contradictions within scriptures. Why do holy books contain internal contradictions and factual inaccuracies? Why are there multiple creation stories within the same religion, such as in Genesis? How can sacred texts claim to be error-free when they have been edited, translated, and reinterpreted over centuries? Why do religious prophecies often fail or rely on vague language that fits any outcome? Why are ancient religious laws, e.g. dietary restrictions, clothing rules, still considered relevant in modern times? Why are there violent and vengeful depictions of God in scriptures, alongside loving and merciful ones? Why do sacred texts include scientific errors, such as the Earth earth being flat or the sun orbiting the earth if God's word is universal? Why are scriptures written in specific languages and tailored to specific cultures? Why do scriptures rely on metaphor and ambiguity instead of clear direct communication? How can holy texts claim to be divinely inspired when they reflect the prejudices and limitations of their time? Issues with religious practices. Why are there thousands of conflicting religions if only one can be true? Why do religious rituals vary so dramatically across cultures if there is one universal truth? Why do religions demand financial offerings even from poor followers? Why are religious leaders often corrupt despite claiming divine guidance? Why do religions restrict freedom of thought and suppress dissenting views? Why do people born into different religions believe theirs is the true one? Why are women often subordinate in religious doctrines and leadership? Why are people of different sexual orientations condemned in many religions? Why do some religions use fear, e.g. hell, to control followers rather than appealing to reason? Why do religious institutions focus on political power instead of spiritual guidance, philosophical and logical problems? If everything needs a creator, who created God? How can an all-knowing God regret actions as described in some scriptures? Why would a perfect God need worship or feel offended by disbelief? Why do prayers go unanswered even for good and selfless causes? How can free will exist if God knows the future? Why would God design humans with flaws and punish them for acting on those flaws? How can omnipotence exist if it leads to logical contradictions, e.g. creating a rock too heavy to lift? Why does an all-powerful God use intermediaries, prophets, priests, instead of directly communicating with humanity? Why is there no universal religion if God created all humans equally? If God is all good, why create a system where evil and suffering are possible at all? These questions expose gaps in religious narratives, logical inconsistencies, and ethical dilemmas. They challenge religious claims, often leaving scholars and apologists to offer faith-based rather than evidence-based responses.